So yes, I'm Fran, and I work at RedGuard during the summer in Wichita, Kansas. So, company description: RedGuard is part of the Lane Company. It's a family-owned business that started in 1998, called A Box for You. Um, well, sorry, that was RedGuard, but RedGuard is part of the Lane Company, one of the Lane companies. Yes, and they specialize in real estate, private capital, modular construction, and manufacturing. RedGuard has the purpose of building, and they don't want to be good, but they want to be great. And they have a philosophy based on Jim Collins' book, and they have this is their methodology on how to get better. And RedGuard Diversified Structures is another company of the Lane companies, and that's where I was at. That's where my office was, and they under RedGuard Diversified Structures is Survive a Storm, which they build tornado shelters. And one of my projects was based on that. So yeah, the tornado shelters main headquarters are in Thomasville, Georgia. They bought that company and integrated into the Link companies, and they just started production of the tornado shelters in Wichita in August of 2023. Yeah, so these are the products. I'm gonna change here. Just want to show you guys. So these are they have different sizes and categories. So residential and commercial. This is the smallest version they have, and it can fit up to like the different models fit from 4 to 16 people. And if you want commercial, if it's you can ask them and they can make it custom for you. It's very amazing how you can just buy it at stores like Walmart, Home Depot, Amazon, Lowe's, and it counts with a storm warning alert system that tells you, hey, like there's a tornado coming to your area, get into the shelter. Yeah, and they're rated for an ES5 tornado. So the incentives for change of the company is to minimize the environmental footprint that they have, because their clients have been asking about what is the impact of RedGuard to the environment. So they want to present these projects to their clients and to their employees so that they can be a part of it, and also reduction of costs. So yeah, the benefits of pollution prevention are many, and these are the main areas: workers, community, consumers, and profits. So workers, when they are part of pollution prevention projects, are impacted positively because they can and can improve their health and safety when you remove hazardous waste or hazardous chemicals. Their morale, because they're part of a company that cares about the environment, the planet, and the people. Recognition. The consumers, they are curious into how their consumption impacts the environment. The community as well, because all the resources, the natural resources that are used to provide these services and products impact everybody. And the profits, because it reduces costs. So this is the project overview of the projects I worked on. I did 5 projects in this internship. So the first one was for the tornado shelters. It was for powder coat, changing from liquid paint to powder coat. And the other 4 projects were for building that they just bought that they're moving their headquarters to. So it was a lighting exchange, a water consumption reduction, solar panels, and a solar panel irrigation. So out of these projects, the total sums up to annual savings of $160,000 approximately, and it in total it would reduce the emissions of 650 metric ton of CO2 equivalent, and then 644,000 kilowatt hours, 590,000 gallons of water, and 12,000 pounds of volatile organic compounds, and 1,000 pounds of hazardous earth. And I'm going to get into each project more in detail. So when we talk about metric ton of CO2 equivalent, we talk about numbers, but I wanted to I've been working with this, but I had no idea into like how it looks visually. But this is just 1 metric ton of CO2 equivalent. It is a sphere of 33 feet. So with the whole project summary, we would be able to reduce around 650 of these spheres into the air every year. So just some context into what the impact is. Yeah, so the first project is powder coat. And this is their current system that they have. It's their spray booths in which they paint the tornado shelters. And these are the carts where they dry the paint. It can take, depending on the weather, it can take from 3 to 4 days just to dry. And so they have to dry it from one side and then from the other side. So there's a lot of delay and time consuming to that drying process. And there's a lot of errors that can happen due to weather because hot temperature can cause it to crack. In cold temperature can cause it, cold cracks, hot, it makes air bubbles. Yes. So they want to change to powder coat, in which the metallic part is charged with electricity that attracts the powder that's put into it, and then it cures in an oven, it liquefies, and so it's ready in 30 minutes. So that would really cut the waiting times. Yeah, so changing to powder coat would eliminate the use of paint and solvents as MEK and silo. So that really impacts the worker's health and the safety environment because MEK has to be treated as a hazardous waste, and changing the process would eliminate that. So yeah, just in terms of paint, 12,000 VOCs and 1,000 HAPs would be changed. Just paint, not silo or not MEK. And then hazardous waste, they dispose of around 3,000 pounds of MEK. So changing that process would impact, and it does have a really high cost as well. So this 98,000 would mean the savings in material change and waste disposal, and the capital cost of changing to a powder coat system would be 83,000. And the simple payback period would be 347 days. So it is recommended, it's less than a year, and it has a lot of benefits. So the lighting exchange. The rest of the projects are on party coaches where they're changing their headquarters to. This is the building. It used to be the Royal Caribbean call center pre-pandemic, and then they got sent home and they never came back, and Lane bought it. So it was left as is. It's a building from the 2000s and the year 98. So this was built in 98, and then it was extended in the year 2000. So it does have fluorescent lights all over. Yeah, so there are 1,800 fixtures in this 77,000 square foot building. I had to count them, and I had to match them with the blueprints because they were not updated. There were different versions. They were tore apart. They got water damage, so it's kind of tricky, and it took me some time to figure out what type of lights they have in their conception. I measured also the ballast type, and try to come up with the best approximate of the current baseline scenario. So this would really benefit the company's image because they are getting updated technology that has a good impact on the environment, and it would reduce 236,000 kilowatt hours per year if we just swap bolts, not the fixtures. In terms of meter tons of CO2, it would be 252, and the annual savings would be 24,000 just in utility costs. The capital cost of material and labor would be 97,000, and the payback period would be around 4 years. So I think it's a good idea. The progress of the project has been it's kind of funny because they only changed the parking lot poles, and that only accounted for 33% of the kilowatt hour saved. So that had a lot of impact, and they changed to LEDs, and I think it's a good change. In terms of water consumption reduction, it was just analyzing if aerators and low flow shower heads would be beneficial. And so it really was. It was very impactful how many gallons would be saved just with putting aerators and low flow in 40 fixtures. It would be around 590,000 gallons per year. And also in terms of energy, because a lot of faucets and showers need energy to heat the water. So less water needs less energy to pump that water and heat it. It would reduce around 87,000 kilowatt hours per year and 84 tons of CO2 equivalent. Reducing water has a whole pipeline of benefits because it reduces water treatments and risk of recreational areas like lakes and rivers. So yeah, the capital cost is very small, very low, 623 with material and labors, and the payback period would be 19 days. I think it's one of the easiest projects to do, and so it's recommended. Solar panels on the portico chain building. So just to heat and cool this building annually, it's $1.2 million. So that's a lot. So we looked into solar panels. We contacted vendors to get quotes, and unfortunately, Evergy does have a system capacity limit. So this is the total capacity limit, 225 kilowatt with alternate current. So that just accounts for 35% of the actual consumption of energy that the building needs right now that it's unoccupied. No computers, no telephones, just HVAC and lights here and there. Yeah, so we got the quote, and that would reduce yearly around 315,000 kilowatt hours and savings of $32,000 per year with 304 metric ton of CO2 equivalent. The capital cost is $142,000, which sounds kind of high, but really the sticker price was around $549. But with the full federal tax credit reduction plus 10% of made in the U.S. equipment, reduce that, plus the accelerated depreciation cost. So that's all taxable, and it went all down to $142,000, which I think was really cool. With a payback period of 4.35 years. So I think less than 5 years would be a good payback period, in my opinion. And yeah, then they have a solar. They just had to build a well because they didn't have one for the whole sprinkler system, and they were wondering if it would be a good idea to put solar in there, because putting a transformer would be around $7,000. So they were like, okay, let's see if the cost of that transformer plus a yearly usage of electricity would be worth it. So we also contacted a vendor, and it's not very viable project because the energy needed to pump the water is not that much, and the whole system would be too expensive given that it needs a battery, because sprinklers are used whenever workers are not there, so before like 7 in the morning, before 6 in the morning when it's nighttime. So solar panels, if they don't have a battery, they can't store energy, so it's like immediate use. And so if it's nighttime, you can dispose of them immediately. So the battery alone was around $19,000, which increases a lot the costs. So yeah, this we just needed 1.5 kilowatts to pump for the pump, and yeah, this is the system that got proposed. It's around yeah, the capital cost is $26,000 just the solar system without the metal box that RedGuard would have to build. So that would add even more. And it's a very high simple payback period of 44.7 years. So I don't think it's worth it. The warranty of the solar panels is just 25 years. So I mean, I don't think it even makes sense. I would not recommend it, but at least I think it was a good analysis so that now we have an answer like, no, this is not a good idea. because annually they consume 5,000 kilowatts, which is not much compared to like what the building uses. So if we're planning on putting solar in the building, it already has that capacity of reducing as much as possible as energy allows. So yeah, the savings is very low, $596. And yeah, it would be a good image of the company being part of the solar panels and that social development and cultural development. But in this case, it would not be a good idea. So yeah, those are the projects I was a part of. And any questions?
Solar projects, the very first one that you actually ended up recommending, can you walk me through some of the costs, how you cut that down? You mentioned a depreciation and like 10% in the US. Can you walk us through what that entails and how you came across those?
Yeah, so I actually contacted King Solar because they worked for K-State. So I contacted two companies. And King Solar really broke it down more in those savings that we could have. So it started with $549,000, and then you caught the 30% plus the 10% of 30% for federal tax credit, and then 10% for made in the USA components. So that adds up to that, and it was like around like 200 and something. I have the numbers in my report, but then there's also a percentage of accelerated depreciation, and King Solar figured all that out. So I think they are the experts because they have been around 1982. I went with their quote because the other company is pretty new. I contacted King Solar with this quote with this rate, and then also Proterra Solar, which is in Wichita. They got to go to the location and stuff, but they are pretty new. So they recommend to go with a company that has at least 5 years of history, because actually in 2023 there has been a lot of solar companies that have gone bankrupt. So it's very important that if you're going to be in a partnership with somebody for 25 years with a warranty or maintenance or something, it's important to see, okay, this is a reliable company. King Solar has been around since 1982. They're in Hutchinson. And yeah, 2023 was a rough year for solar, especially with the whole inflation crisis going on. So I have a friend that just got laid off because her solar company where she worked at just went bankrupt. So I think it's risky as well, and you gotta make sure somebody that's an expert, because the other company did include the federal tax credit, but did it not include accelerated depreciation. Because apparently they didn't have our financial tax bracket. It depends on the size of the company. That other discount, and we do fit into that tax bracket. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you had a question.
So is there any reason why everybody have to limit the amount of power generates?
Is there a way that everybody can limit us?
Like, no, I mean, like, is there any reason why everybody has a limit?
It's a good question. I think it's because of the net metering. I could be wrong, but you know how like net metering is how they pay if you don't consume the full energy that you produce. You put it back on the electrical grid and they pay you back. I have no idea, but does anybody know about why they limit its size?
It might have something to do with the amount of energy being sent back.
Yeah, I think it's about what the capacity of their power lines and how much they can take back.
Maybe also demand. So let's say it snows while your solar panels are covered. They still have to be able to produce the amount of electricity at any given time. So imagine if all the companies across everywhere reduced usage to zero. Power company, they're just giving power to few companies. One day everybody needs that demand.
Yeah.
It's not.
It makes sense.
It's probably for grid management purposes that they have this, but I think they have been changing the limit, right?
Just got updated to 200 kilowatt DC just like a month ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that but that's what we.
I actually just got this like last week, so
Okay.
maybe
It might just
Yeah.
have been proposed.
it might have been.
It's one of the other listed, Sun Smart Technologies, that's who we've been working with. Keep saying that there was a lot of legislative movements
Yeah.
around.
And also, I forgot to mention that the energy produced by the system in a year does consider an average
Solar
sun
radiance.
solar radiance
Yeah.
per month. So it does like depend on winter or summertime. It does account for that.
I have a follow-up on the solar real quick. So when you contacted the company, so King Solar, will they provide the company with any help to apply for those grants? Do they just let RedGuard know, okay, you have this benefits that you qualify for? Do you know if they actually can help to do the application?
Yeah, actually, in their quote, they had one part for the REAP grant, which is
Mhm.
a rural grant for for small companies, and it's at zero because RedGuard does not qualify for it. So they really looked into what we could save on.
Okay, nice.
So like, does RedGuard like do the grant work?
Themselves.
Yeah.
No, the company helps.
Okay.
So I also contacted King Solar, and then I got a quotation from them, and so they also had that acquisition cost. And when I talked more about more with Ryan from the extension, so everybody agree with the tax credit savings, but they said it's like we don't know about that as much about the accelerated depreciation cost. So did they kind of give any example? It's like okay, there are some plan that got that something like. Did anybody previously installed the solar panels and was able to get the savings from the accelerated depreciation cost? So is there any kind of example planned?
Well, actually, they did send pictures of other similar systems that they had installed. So I could ask them more in detail, but they have done projects similar to that size. So I think they do have that experience. So
Yeah.
Adding to that, that's why it's also important to go with somebody that has them.
Yeah. Like I also asked them, is like they said, yeah, we are sure you will get it, but then
Yeah.
from the other from our extension department here, they were not sure about that. That's why I was kind of confused. Okay.
Yeah, I think solar is definitely risky because there's so much parameters to look into, and there's a 25-year warranty, but who knows what could happen in between, you know?
Yeah.
Is there any other questions?
Hey, Louis, switching over to the top.
Yes.
All the calculation. So I'm imagining right now with the paint.
Yeah.
With the powder coating, they have to have. Something that by natural gas.
Yes. Yes. So I looked into whether electrical or natural. Are you talking about the oven?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we got the quote for a gas oven, and that's how we base the savings and the capital costs. Because I looked into the alternative of an electric oven. However, with powder coat, you need to be at around 400 Fahrenheit height, and electrical ovens are for low temperatures, so it wouldn't be efficient to use it in those temperatures. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, and actually, I forgot to mention that they the production of tornado shelters also happens in Thomasville, and they do use powder coat already. And the equipment that got proposed is based on that, so it's proven